Rather than creating an obvious cultural line between Indigenous and non-Indigenous art, as was done in the past, the creators of the Art Gallery New South Wales are searching for ways of including Indigenous art into the narrative of Australian art in public institutions, from which it was previously excluded from. The Crossing of Cultures room here in the 20th Century Art Gallery presents a paradigm shift in how we think about Aboriginal art in relationship with Australian art history. Australian curator and painter Andrew Sayers argues that Indigenous art remains distinct from the rest of Australian art. However, it can only be a distortion to see Aboriginal art as wholly separate from some other field, which might be designated as Australian art. Although the Aboriginal artworks in this room are culturally unique to the traditional cultures of Tiwi and Yulungu people, they are still pieces of fine art and craftsmanship which deserve the same admiration as work within the European canon of art. We know this art, Indigenous Australian art, exists. We must therefore try to incorporate it into our history, but it appears to be so different that only the most tenuous links to non-Indigenous Australian art can be made. Whilst this particular room of the gallery does this successfully, looking into the next room takes us straight back into white colonial Australian history, where the perspective of European Australian perspectives and art elements come together. The Crossing Cultures room in the South Building of the Art Gallery New South Wales presents a transcultural narrative of Australian art history, inclusive of both Indigenous and non-Indigenous art, in conversation with the art canon during the early decades of the 20th century. You could argue that the curators are asking us to consider these bark paintings in grave posts as examples of modernism, of which they are displayed with. However, it seems more that the curators are just making attempts to include Indigenous art into the narrative of Australian art, from which it has been excluded from for so long. The curation of the Crossing Cultures room triggers a thought-provoking reflection and rethinking of Australian art history and how the European narrative has dominated our art history. However, by grouping these works together with the emphasis of abstract expressionism, does the art gallery remain to educate and display our art history through the lens of Western art? With its legacy rooted in colonisation, is it possible for this ever to not be the case? For the next half of this series, we will take you into the new location of the Yurrabana Gallery, a space of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander art, and how it is placing a once ignored culture in the canon of art into the forefront of Australian art.